Justice is a play that criticizes the judicial system's unfair practices, which the author said it favors the rich and punishes the poor. In Act 2, we saw the trial before a court. Let's start Act 3, Scene 1. A prison, a plainly furnished room with two large barred windows overlooking the prisoners' exercise yard, where men in yellow clothes marked with arrows and yellow brimless caps are seen in single file at a distance of 4 yards from each other, walking rapidly on serpentine white lines marked on the concrete floor of the yard. Two warders in blue uniforms with peaked caps and swords are stationed amongst them. The room has distempered walls, a bookcase with numerous official looking books, a cupboard between the windows, a plan of the prison on the wall, a writing table covered with documents. It is Christmas Eve. The governor, a neat, grave looking man with a trim, fair moustache, the eyes of a theorist, and grizzled hair receding from the temples, is standing close to this writing table looking at a sort of rug saw made out of a piece of metal. The hand in which he holds it is gloved, for two fingers are missing. The chief warder Udar, a tall, thin, military looking man of 60 with grey moustache and melancholy monkey like eyes, stands very upright 2 paces from him. The governor, queer looking affair, Mr. Udar. Where did you find it? Udar, in his mattress, sir. Haven't come across such a thing for 2 years now. The governor, had he any set plan? Udar, he had sawed his window bar about that much. The governor, I will see him this afternoon. What's his name? Moni? An old hand, I think. Udar, yes, sir. Fourth spell of penal. You would think an old slag like him would have had more sense by now. Occupied his mind, he said. Breaking in and out, that's all they think about. The governor. Who is next him? Udar. Oh, clearly, sir. The governor. The Irishman. Udar. Next him again there is that young fellow Falter, Starclass, and next him old Clifton. The governor. Ah, yes, the philosopher. I want to see him about his eyes. Udar. Curious thing, sir. They seem to know when there is one of these tries that escape going on. It makes them restive. There is a regular wave going through them just now. The governor. Odd things, those waves. Seem quite enough out here. Udar. That Irishman O'Cleary began banging on his door this morning. Little thing like that's quite enough to upset the whole lot. They are just like dumb animals at times. The governor. I have seen it with horses before thunder. It will run right through cavalry lines. The prison chaplain has entered. He is a dark haired ascetic man in clerical undress with a peculiarly steady, tight lipped face and slow, cultured speech. The governor, holding up the saw. See this, Miller? The chaplain, useful looking specimen. The governor, do for the museum. He goes to the cupboard and opens it, displaying to view a number of quaint ropes, hooks, and metal tools with labels tied on them. That's true. Thanks, Mr. Udar. Udar. Thank you, sir. The governor. Account for the state of the main last day or two, Miller. Seems going through the whole place. The chaplain. No, I don't know of anything. The governor. By the way, will you dine with us tomorrow? The chaplain. Christmas Day? Thanks very much. The Governor. Worries me to feel the men discontented. Have to punish this poor devil. Can't help liking a man who tries to escape. He places the saw in his pocket and locks the cupboard again. The Chaplain. Extraordinary perverted willpower, some of them. Nothing to be done till it's broken. The Governor. And not much afterwards, I am afraid. Ground too hard for golf. Udar comes in again. Udar. Visitor to speak to you, sir. I told him it wasn't usual. The Governor. What about? Udar. Shall I put him off, sir? The Governor. No, no, let's see him. Don't go, Miller. Udar motions to someone without, and as the visitor comes in, withdraws. The visitor is Coxon, who is attired to a thick overcoat to the knees, woolen gloves, and carries a top hat. Coxon. I am sorry to trouble you, but it's about a young man you have got here. The Governor. We have a good many. Coxon. Name of folder, forgery. Producing a card and handing it to the Governor. Firm of James and Walter Howe. Well known in the law. The Governor. Receiving the card with a faint smile. What do you want to see me about, sir? Coxon. Why, what a sight. The Governor. Yes, we have that privilege from here. My office is being done up. Now please. Coxon. Dragging his eyes with difficulty from the window. I wanted to say a word to you. I shall not keep you long. Fact is, I ought not to be here by rights. His sister came to me. He has got no father and mother, and she was in some distress. My husband won't let me go and see him, she said. Says he has disgraced the family, and his other sister, she said, is an invalid. And she asked me to come. Well, I take an interest in him. He was our junior. I go to the same chapel, and I didn't like to refuse. The Governor. I am afraid he is not allowed a visitor yet. He is only here for his 1 month's separate confinement. Coxon. You see, I saw him while he was shut up waiting for his trial, and he was lonely. The Governor. Ring the bell. Would you, Miller? To Coxon. You'd like to hear what the doctor says about him, perhaps. The Chaplain. You are not accustomed to prisons, it would seem, sir. Coxon. No, but it's a pitiful sight. He is quite a young fellow. I said to him, be patient. I said, patient. He said, a day. He said, shut up in your cell, thinking and brooding as I do. It's longer than a year outside. I can't help it. He said, I try, but I am built that way, Mr. Coxon. And he held his hand up to his face. I could see the tears trickling through his fingers. It wasn't nice. The Chaplain. He is a young man with rather peculiar eyes, isn't he? Not Church of England, I think. Coxon. No. The Chaplain. I know. The Governor. To Udar, who has come in. Asks the doctor to be good enough to come here for a minute. Udar salutes and goes out. Let's see. He is not married. Coxon. No. But there is a third party he has very much attached to. Not altogether comme il faut. It's a sad story. The Chaplain. If it wasn't for drink and women, sir, this prison might be closed. Coxon. Looking at the Chaplain over his spectacles. Yes, but I wanted to tell you about that special. It preys on his mind.
The Governor. Well, Coxon, like this. The woman had a nasty, spiteful feller for a husband, and he had left him. Fact is, she was going away with our young friend. It's not nice, but I have looked over it. Well, after the trial, she said she would earn her living apart and wait for him to come out. That was a great consolation to him. But after a month, she came to me. I don't know her personally, and she said, I can't earn the children's living, let alone my own. I have got no friends. I am obliged to keep out of everybody's way, else my husband would get to know where I was. I am very much reduced, she said, and she has lost flesh. I will have to go in the workhouse. It's a painful story. I said to her, no. I said, not that. I have got a wife and family. But sooner than you should do that, I will spare you a little myself. Really? She said. She is a nice creature. I don't like to take it from you. I think I would better go back to my husband. Well, I know he is a nasty, spiteful feller, drinks, but I didn't like to persuade her not to. The chaplain. Surely no, Coxon. Yes, but I'm sorry now. He's got his 3 years to serve. I want things to be pleasant for him. The chaplain. The law hardly shares your view, I'm afraid. Coxon. He is all alone there by himself. I am afraid it will turn him silly. And nobody wants that, I suppose. He cried when I saw him. I don't like to see a man cry. The chaplain. It's a very rare thing for them to give way like that. Coxon. Looking at him in a tone of sudden dogged hostility. I keep dogs. The chaplain. Indeed? Coxon. Yes, and I say this, I wouldn't shut one of them up all by himself week after week, not if he had beat me all over. The chaplain. Unfortunately, the criminal is not a dog. He has a sense of right and wrong. Coxon. But that's not the way to make him feel it. The chaplain. There I am afraid we must differ. Coxon. It's the same with dogs. If you treat them with kindness, they will do anything for you. But to shut them up alone, it only makes them savage. The chaplain. Surely you should allow those who have had a little more experience than yourself to know what is best for prisoners. Coxon. I know this young feller. I have watched him for years. He is erotic, got no stamina. His father died of consumption. I am thinking of his future. If he is to be kept there shut up by himself without a cat to keep him company, it will do him harm. I said to him, where do you feel it? I can't tell you, Mr. Coxon, he said. But sometimes I could beat my head against the wall. It's not nice. During this speech, the doctor has entered. He is a medium sized, rather good looking man with a quick eye. He stands leaning against the window. The governor. This gentleman thinks the separate is telling on Q 3007 folder, young thin fellow, star class. What do you say, Dr. Clemens? The doctor. He doesn't like it, but it's not doing him any harm. It's only a month. Coxon. But he was weeks before he came in here. The doctor. We can always tell. He has lost no weight since he has been here. Coxon. It's his state of mind I am speaking of. The doctor. His mind is all right so far. He is nervous, rather melancholy. I don't see signs of anything more. I am watching him carefully. Coxon. I am glad to hear you say that. The chaplain. It's just at this period that we are able to make some impression on them, sir. I am speaking from my special standpoint. Coxon. Turning bewildered to the governor. I don't want to be unpleasant, but I do feel it occurred. The governor. I will make a point of seeing him today. Coxon. I am much obliged to you. I thought perhaps seeing him every day you wouldn't notice it. The governor. If any sign of injury to his health shows itself, his case will be reported at once. That's fully provided for. Coxon. Of course, what you don't see doesn't trouble you, but I don't want to have him on my mind. The governor. I think you may safely leave it to us, sir. Coxon. I thought you would understand me. I'm a plain man, never set myself up against authority. Nothing personal meant. Good morning. As he goes out, the three officials do not look at each other, but their faces wear peculiar expressions. The chaplain. Our friend seems to think that prison is a hospital. Coxon. Returning suddenly with an apologetic air. There is just one little thing. This woman, I suppose, I must not ask you to let him see her. It would be a rare treat for them both. He will be thinking about her all the time. Of course, she is not his wife, but he is quite safe in here. They are a pitiful couple. You couldn't make an exception? The governor. As you say, my dear sir, I couldn't make an exception. He won't be allowed a visit till he goes to a convict prison. Coxon. I see. Sorry to have troubled you. The chaplain. The plain man indeed, poor fellow. Come and have some lunch, Clemens. He and the doctor go out talking. The governor, with a sigh, sits down at his table and takes up a pen. Scene 2. Part of the ground corridor of the prison. The walls are colored with greenish distemper up to a stripe of deeper green about the height of a man's shoulder, and above this line are whitewashed. The floor is of blackened stones. Daylight is filtering through a heavily barred window at the end. The doors of 4 cells are visible. Each cell door has a little round peephole at the level of a man's eye, covered by a little round disc which, raised upwards, affords a view of the cell. On the wall close to each cell door hangs a little square board with the prisoner's name, number, and record. Overhead can be seen in the iron structures of the first floor and second floor corridors. The warder inspector, a bearded man in blue uniform with an apron and some dangling keys, is just emerging from one of the cells. Instructor. I will have another bit for you when that's finished. Oh, clearly. Little doubt of that, sir. Instructor. Well, you would rather have it than nothing, I suppose. Oh, clearly. And that's the blessed truth. Sounds are heard of a cell door being closed and locked, and of approaching footsteps. Instructor. In a sharp and changed voice. Look alive over it. He shuts the cell door and stands at attention. The governor comes walking down the corridor, followed by Udar. The governor. Anything to report? Instructor. Q3007, he points to a cell, is behind with his work, sir. He will lose marks today. The governor nods and passes on to the end cell. The instructor goes away. This is our maker of saws, isn't it? He takes the saw from his pocket as Udar throws open the door of the cell. The convict Moni is seen lying on his bed athwart the cell with his cap on. He springs up and stands in the middle of the cell. He is a raw-boned fellow about 56 years old, with outstanding bat's ears and fierce, staring, steel-colored eyes. Udar, cap off. Moni removes his cap. Out here. Moni comes to the door. The governor, beckoning him out into the corridor and holding up the saw with the manner of an officer speaking to a private. Anything to say about this, my man? Moni is silent. Come. Moni. It passed the time. The governor. Not enough to do. Moni. It don't occupy your mind. The governor. You might find a better way than this. Moni. Well, what way? I must keep my hand in against the time I get out. What's the good of anything else to me at my time of life? With a gradual change of civility as his tongue warms. Yeah, know me that, sir. I will be in again within a year or two after I have done this lot. I don't want to disgrace myself when I am out. You have got your pride keeping the prison smart. Well, I have got mine. Seeing that governor is listening with interest, he goes on, pointing to the saw. I must be doing a little of this. It's no harm to anyone. I was 5 weeks making that saw. A bit of all right it is too. Now I will get sales, I suppose, or 7 days bread and water. You can't help it, sir. I know that I quite put myself in your place. The governor. Now look here, Muni. If it pass it over, will you give me your word not to try it on again? Think. He goes into the cell, walks to the end of it, mounts the tool, and tries the window bars. The governor. Well, Muni, I have got another 6 weeks to do in here alone. I can do it and think of nothing. I must have something to interest me. You have made me a sporting offer, sir, but I can't pass my word about it. I shouldn't like to deceive a gentleman. Pointing into the cell. Another 4 hours steady work would have done it. The governor. Yes, and what then? Court brought back punishment. 5 weeks hard work to make this and cells at the end of it while they put a new bar to your window. Is it worth it, Moni? Moni. Yes, it is. The governor. Oh, well, 2 days sales, bread and water. Moni. Thank you, sir. He turns quickly like an animal and slips into his cell. The governor looks after him and shakes his head as Udar closes and locks the cell door. The governor. Open Clifton's cell. Udar opens the door of Clifton's cell. Clifton is sitting on a stool just inside the door, at work on a pair of trousers. He is a small, thick, oldish man with an almost shaven head and smoldering little dark eyes behind smoked spectacles. He gets up and stands motionless in the doorway, peering at his visitors. The governor. Come out here a minute, Clifton. Clifton, with a sort of dreadful quietness, comes into the corridor, the needle and thread in his hand. The governor signs to Udar, who goes into the cell and inspects it carefully. The governor. How are your eyes, Clifton? I don't complain of them. I don't see the sun here. He makes a stealthy movement, protruding his neck a little. There is just one thing, Mr. Governor. As you are speaking to me, I wish you would ask the cove next door here to keep a bit quieter. The governor. What's the matter? I don't want any tales, Clifton. Clifton. He keeps me awake. I don't know who he is. One of these star class, I expect. Ought not to be here with us. The governor. Quite right, Clifton. He will be moved when there is a cell vacant. Clifton. He knocks about like a wild beast in the early morning. I am not used to it. Stops me getting my sleep out. In the evening too. It's not fair, Mr. Governor, as you are speaking to me. Sleep is the comfort I have got here. I am entitled to take it out full. Udar comes out of the cell and instantly, as though extinguished, Clifton moves with stealthy suddenness back into his cell. Udar. All right, sir. The governor nods. The door is closed and locked. The governor. Which is the man who banged on his door this morning? Udar. Going towards O'Cleary's cell. This one, sir. O'Cleary. He lifts the disc and glances through the peephole. The governor. Open. Udar throws Udar throws open the door. O'Cleary, who is seated at a little table by the door as if listening, springs up and stands at attention just inside the doorway. He is a broad faced, middle aged man with a wide, thin, flexible mouth and little holes under his high cheekbones. The governor. Where is the joke, O'Cleary? O'Cleary. The joke, Your Honor? I have not seen one for a long time. The governor. Banging on your door? O'Cleary. Oh, that. The governor. It's ominous. O'Cleary. And it's that I am becoming these 2 months past. The governor. Anything to complain of? O'Cleary. No, sir. The governor. You are an old hand. You ought to know better. O'Cleary. Yes, I have been through it all. The governor. You have got a youngster next door. You will upset him. O'Cleary. I came over me, Your Honor. I can't always be the same steady man. The governor. Work all right? O'Cleary. Oh, I can do it on my head. It's the miserablest stuff. I don't take the brains of a mouse. It's here I feel it. The want of a little noise, a terrible little would eyes me. The governor. You know as well as I do that if you were out in the shops, you wouldn't be allowed to talk. O'Cleary. Not with my mouth. The governor. Well then. O'Cleary. But it's the great conversation I would be having. The governor. Well, no more conversation on your door. O'Cleary. No, sir, I would not have the little wit to repeat myself. The governor. Good night. O'Cleary. Good night, Your Honor. He turns into his cell. The governor shuts the door. The governor. Can't help liking the poor beggar. Udder. He is an amiable man, sir. The governor. Ask the doctor to come here, Mr. Udder. Udder salutes and goes away down the corridor. The governor goes to the door of Falder's cell. He raises his uninjured hand to uncover the peephole, but without uncovering it, shakes his head and drops his hand. Then, after scrutinizing the record board, he opens the cell door. Falder, who is standing against it, lurches forward with a gasp. The governor. Now tell me, can't you settle down, Falder? Falder. Yes, sir. The governor. You know what I mean. It's not good running your head against a stone wall, is it? Falder. No, sir. The governor. Well, come. Falder. I try, sir. The governor. Can't you sleep? Falder. Very little. Between 2 o'clock and getting up's the worst time. The governor. How is that? Falder. His lips twist with a sort of smile. I don't know, sir. I was always nervous. Everything seems to get such a size then. I feel I will never get out as long as I live. The governor. That's morbid, my lad. Pull yourself together. Falter. With an equally sudden dogged resentment. Yes, I have got to. The governor. Think of all these other fellows. Falter. They are used to it. The governor. They all had to go through it once for the first time, just as we were doing now. Falter. Yes, sir. I shall get to be like them in time, I suppose. The governor. Well, that rests with you. Now come, set your mind to it like a good fellow. You are still quite young. A man can make himself what he likes. Falter. Yes, sir. The governor. Take a good hold of yourself. Do you read? Falter. I don't take the words in. I know it's not good, but I can't help thinking of what's going on outside. The governor. Private trouble? Falter. Yes. The governor. You must not think about it. Falter. Looking back at his cell. How can I help it, sir? He suddenly becomes motionless as Udar and the doctor approach. The governor motions to him to go back into his cell. Falter. I am quite right in my head, sir. The governor to the doctor. Just go in and see him. Clements. The doctor goes into the cell. The governor pushes the door to, nearly closing it, and walks towards the window. Udar. Sorry, you should be troubled like this, sir. Very contented lot of men on the whole. The governor. You think so? Udar. Yes, sir. It's Christmas doing it, in my opinion. The governor. Queer that. Udar. Beg pardon, sir. The governor. Christmas? He turns towards the window, leaving Udar looking at him with a sort of pained anxiety. Udar, do you think we make so enough, sir? If you would like us to have more holy? The governor, not at all, Mr. Udar. Udar, very good, sir. The doctor has come out of Folder's cell and the governor beckons to him. The governor, well, the doctor, I can't make anything much of him. He is nervous, of course. The governor, is there any sort of case to report? Quite frankly, doctor. The doctor, well, I don't think the separate is doing him any good. But then I could say the same of a lot of them. They would get on better in the shops, there is no doubt. The governor, you mean you would have to recommend others? The doctor, a dozen at least. It's on his nerves. There is nothing tangible. This fellow here, pointing to O'Cleary's cell, for instance, feels it just as much in his way. If I once get away from physical facts, I shall not know where I am. Conscientiously, sir, I don't know how to differentiate him. He hasn't lost weight, nothing wrong with his eyes, his pulse is good, talks all right. It's only another week before he goes. The governor, it doesn't amount to melancholia? The doctor, I can report on him if you like, but if I do, I ought to report on others. The governor, I see, looking towards Folder's cell. The poor devil must just stick it then. As he says this, he looks absently at Udar. Udar, beg pardon, sir. The governor, Mr. Udar? Udar, banging on his door, sir. I thought we should have more of that. He hurries forward, passing the governor, who follows slowly. Udar, do you think we make so enough, sir? If you would like us to have more holy? The governor, not at all, Mr. Udar. Udar, very good, sir. The doctor has come out of Folder's cell and the governor beckons to him. The governor, well, the doctor, I can't make anything much of him. He is nervous, of course. The governor, is there any sort of case to report? Quite frankly, doctor. The doctor, well, I don't think the separate is doing him any good. But then I could say the same of a lot of them. They would get on better in the shops, there is no doubt. The governor, you mean you would have to recommend others? The doctor, a dozen at least. It's on his nerves. There is nothing tangible. This fellow here, pointing to O'Cleary's cell, for instance, feels it just as much in his way. If I once get away from physical facts, I shall not know where I am. Conscientiously, sir, I don't know how to differentiate him. He hasn't lost weight, nothing wrong with his eyes, his pulse is good, talks all right. It's only another week before he goes. The governor, it doesn't amount to melancholia? The doctor, I can report on him if you like, but if I do, I ought to report on others. The governor, I see, looking towards Folder's cell. The poor devil must just stick it then. As he says this, he looks absently at Udar. Udar, beg pardon, sir. The governor, Mr. Udar, banging on his door, sir. I thought we should have more of that. He hurries forward, passing the governor, who follows slowly. Scene 3. Folder's cell, a whitewashed space 13 feet broad by 7 deep and 9 feet high with a rounded ceiling. The floor is of shiny blackened bricks. The barred window with a ventilator is high up in the middle of the end wall. In the middle of the opposite end wall is the narrow door. In a corner are the mattress and bedding rolled up, 2 blankets, 2 sheets, and a coverlet. Above them is a quarter circular wooden shelf on which is a Bible and several little devotional books piled in a symmetrical pyramid. There are also a black hairbrush, toothbrush, and a bit of soap. In another corner is the wooden frame of a bed standing on end. There is a dark ventilator under the window and another over the door. Folder's work, a shirt to which he is putting buttonholes, is hung to a nail on the wall over a small wooden table on which the novel Lorna Doone lies open. Low down in the corner by the door is a thick glass screen about a foot square covering the glass jet let into the wall. There is also a woolen stool and a pair of shoes beneath it. 3 bright round tins are set under the window. In fast failing daylight, Folder, in his stockings, is seen standing motionless with his head inclined towards the door listening. He moves a little closer to the door, his stockinged feet making no noise. He stops at the door. He is trying harder and harder to hear something, any little thing that is going on outside. He springs suddenly upright as if at a sound and remains perfectly motionless. Then, with a heavy sigh, he moves to his work and stands looking at it with his head down. He does a stitch or two, having the air of a man so lost in sadness that each stitch is as it were a coming to life. Then, trying abruptly, he begins pacing the cell, moving his head like an animal pacing its cage. He stops again at the door, listens, and placing the palms of his hands against it with his fingers spread out, leans his forehead against the iron. Turning from it presently, he moves slowly back towards the window, tracing his way with his finger along the top line of the distemper that runs round the walls. He stops under the window and, picking up the lid of one of the tins, peers into it as if trying to make a companion of his own face. It has grown very nearly dark. Suddenly, the lid falls out of his hand with a clatter, the only sound that has broken the silence, and he stands staring intently at the wall where the stuff of the shirt is hanging rather white in darkness. He seems to be seeing somebody or something there. There is a sharp tap and click. The cell light behind the glass screen has been turned up. A cell is brightly lighted. Folder is seen gasping for breath. A sound from far away, as of distant dull beating on thick metal, is suddenly audible. Folder shrinks back, not able to bear this sudden clamor. But the sound grows, as though some great tumbril were rolling towards the cell, and gradually it seems to hypnotize him. He begins creeping inch by inch nearer to the door. The banging sound, traveling from cell to cell, draws closer and closer. Folder's hands are seen moving as if his spirit had already joined in this beating, and the sound swells till it seems to have entered the very cell. He suddenly raises his clenched fists, panting violently. He flings himself at his door and beats on it.